You're listening to Let's Talk, episode 13. Howdy y'all, Father Cory Sticha here. Welcome to Let's Talk, our SQPN community podcast where we talk about issues of interest to the SQPN community. Today we are definitely going to be talking about a topic to the SQPN community because we are going to be talking about SQPN itself. And to help us with that, we got Dom Bettinelli, CEO of SQPN. How's it going, Dom?
It's great. Oh, I'm confused. I thought this was Secrets of Doctor Who we're recording today.
Yeah, that's this actually going to sound very different because it's the same panel because Jimmy Akin is also here. How's it going, Jimmy?
It's okay. I was just ready to talk about Adric.
Oh, we could do that too. Wait, we agreed we weren't going to rant. Oh, wait.
Okay.
that's for another show.
Adric and Wesley into the wall. Have to get it all done.
Yeah, this is going to feel very different because, of course, I'm always on the other side doing the, Dom's leading it and I'm one of the panelists. Now this time I'm leading it and Dom's the panelist. And yes, we will have time some point in Secrets of Doctor Who to rant about Adric and it will be fun.
Okay.
Coming soon.
But, just one thing I like to do is it's allow the panelists to introduce themselves, especially if this is their first time. Of course, everybody we've had so far since we've restarted Let's Talk, it's been their first time. So I'd like to give you guys a chance to introduce yourselves in case people listening don't know anything about you. And we'll start out with you, Jimmy. You're probably the more recognizable of the three of us, but give you a chance to introduce yourself anyways. So.
Okay. Well, my name is Jimmy Akin, and I am the senior apologist at Catholic Answers in San Diego. I'm originally from Texas and grew up in Arkansas, and I am curious about all kinds of different stuff, and so I like learning things.
Well,
that's what makes you a good podcaster.
Exactly. Exactly. And what we're going to talk about one of your new podcasts that we're starting that will tie into that well.
Yeah, just launched yesterday.
Excellent. Yeah, look forward. I haven't had the chance to listen to it yet, but I look forward to it. And then Dom, why don't you tell us a little about yourself?
So I'm Dom Bettinelli, and I live with my family outside of Boston, where I grew up. I'm from this area, and until sometimes it's hard for me to kind of talk about like what I've done. I've done a little bit of everything in Catholic media. I've done magazines, I've done online news services, I've worked for a diocese, I've worked for a parish in communications. I've done pretty much everything. I've hosted radio shows, and I like to say I've done everything but TV. So, some TV station wants to come along and offer me a gig, I'd be happy to give that a shot because I've done all the rest of it. So my association with SQPN, it goes back to the very beginning. Before SQPN existed, listening to this Dutch priest talking into a recorder as he walked through the snow from his rectory to the church to hear his choir sing the Gospel of Matthew, the Easter. I forget what the composer was, but it was beautiful and captivating, and I was hooked. And so I've been listening to SQPN podcasts ever since. And in 2010, when I was working for the Archdiocese of Boston, I invited them to consider coming to Boston for the CNMC. And then soon after that, I started doing podcasts.
Okay, what's the CMNC?
Oh, right. The Catholic New Media Celebration. CNMC has meant several different things over the years. At the time, I think it meant Catholic New Media Celebration. It's been Catholic New Media Conference. But it's the annual gathering, or it's semi-annual, because it wasn't always annual, gathering of the SQPN community and a way to kind of give back, to help train, offer help to those who want to get started in Catholic New Media, especially in podcasting. And so the Archdiocese of Boston invited SQPN to come and train some of our Catholics in this region in these skills. And soon after that, I started helping on some podcasts with Father Roderick. And in 2015, I became executive director for SQPN. And then earlier this year, I became CEO of SQPN.
Yeah, so you had quite the journey.
Yeah.
Now, one thing to mention is that all three of us are on the board for SQPN. Dom, of course, is CEO, Jimmy as a board member, and then I'm the chaplain. So we brought the three of us together for this episode because we want to talk about what is going on with SQPN. SQPN, unfortunately, went a little bit dormant for a while, but we're really in a rebuilding phase. We're revitalized. How many people, their sports teams, it's a rebuilding year. It's a rebuilding year. Well, this is SQPN's rebuilding year. And I think we're actually becoming very successful at it. We've got some new stuff going on, and and we want to kind of share and talk about it. Yeah. So.
And when you say dormant, you don't mean completely dormant, because we always, for example, had Secrets of Doctor Who going. Correct. And things like that. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, it's not that it went completely to sleep. But it was, it had, their time, 10 years ago when it was, high energy and there's a lot of stuff going on, and it just kind of tapered off and it got quiet for a while. Well, now we're bringing that energy back. We're trying to get things going again. And it seems like it's working. So, well, Don, why don't we start right there? What are some of the stuff, since the beginning of the year, we have had a lot going. What's been going on?
Well, the first big thing, the big change was not one of the podcasts, actually. It was I came on full-time to SQPN. Before that, I was doing it part-time.
Right, and that's the real key to having a functioning network with a lot of throughput, is having people who are dedicating their time to it. Mm-hmm. And we didn't have the labor to produce a large volume of podcasts. And now that Dom has come on board full time, we have a lot more labor. And so a lot more is getting produced.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, because I look at like the things that I have to do on a daily basis. I mean, for one thing, I wake up every day, and my task is, what can I do to advance the mission of SQPN today? Mm-hmm. And so I'm scheduling guests for all of our various podcasts, which I'll be talking about in a few minutes, and going through content, creating podcasts, editing podcasts, doing marketing, press releases, social media. I mean, there's a never-ending list of tasks that need to get done. Mm-hmm. And if I were doing this, part-time still, it's just, doing Secrets of Doctor Who and one other podcast maybe was about as much as I could devote time to. So we really, the board as a whole, and I decided this was, if we're going to advance, we're going to really revitalize SQPN, we needed someone to be doing this full-time. Yeah. And so I took the risk, and it is, for me as a family man, I'm putting my family's care in the hands of SQPN in that sense. So it was something I had to my wife and I prayed about and talked about, and really I am optimistic about SQPN. I love what I do for a living now. I love telling people I'm a Catholic podcaster. This is what do you do for a living? I'm a Catholic podcaster. And people go, wow. And they don't even know what to say to that, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. But because, we could go into, some of the shows, but with podcasting, it's a way of connecting with people that's unlike any other. And especially with the type of podcast we do, we're connecting, our tagline is we're connecting the worlds of faith and pop culture. We're talking about the things that interest people, whether it's TV shows or games or movies or what have you. And we talk about them not like we're reading from the catechism about them. We're not banging people over the head with it. But just because I happen to be a Catholic, I have a certain way of looking at things. And it's a different perspective than what you get out there in general. And that's sort of the idea behind all of our podcasts. Right. And so that was the first big change.
And it's, that's one thing with Secrets of Doctor Who. I think we've seen comments on where it's great to hear, not just about the show and the background and the, all the different little Easter eggs they throw in the show and everything, all the stuff we talk about. But when there is an issue of more morality raised, that we do bring the Catholic perspective to it. And we're unabashed about that. We're clear about that. I'm a Catholic priest, and I'm going to talk about, this issue or that issue within the series as a Catholic priest and what the consequences of that are.
and it's not even the just the controversial issues that come up, but even but like normal, like when the doctor has to make a decision about, does he save this person or that person? I don't know, something like that, but how as a Catholic, how do I approach that? Just how would I look at that situation? I mean, just the very basic ways, and what that does is it's an opportunity to kind of, well, for Catholics to kind of say, how would I approach that? How would someone else approach that who's Catholic? But also for people who aren't Catholic to kind of connect with Catholics on a level that they don't necessarily get to on a regular basis. They either, people, non-Catholics encounter Catholics all the time in the grocery store, at work, whatever, but we don't always talk about our faith in those encounters. You don't really know that they're Catholic necessarily, unless it's a priest who's wearing a collar. But this is an opportunity for someone who might not be Catholic to kind of to have an encounter that isn't, for one thing, laden with all of the stuff that, say, mainstream media wants to talk about, the controversial stuff, but just to kind of encounter us in a more fun way, a more interesting conversational way. So that's what I love about it.
And we've definitely tried to make the approach of addressing issues, but addressing them in a positive way. And that's one thing I've set as a goal for this podcast, for Let's Talk. We talk about, a couple episodes ago, we talked about, with the scandals and everything, how do we recognize the joy?
Yeah.
And I think that's an important aspect, because if you want podcasts out there that are going to rant about the current political issues and problems with these TV shows and all that, you can find them. They're out there.
Well, and you have Twitter and Facebook and all those other places as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is an opportunity to kind of, we're not Pollyanna about it. We recognize that there are problems, but it's an opportunity to get away from it a little.
Yeah, we're trying not to just focus on the negative all the time.
Yeah, there's plenty of that out there if you want it.
Yeah, and it's not just, and we hopefully won't shy away from it, and I don't think that needs to be our goal. It's just trying not to get into rant mode. Although, unless we're talking about Doctor Who and Adric, then, and for those who don't know who Adric is, he is probably one of the most hated companions of the series
all time
ever.
Yes.
So
if you only know New Who, you might not realize who Adric is.
Adric is the Wesley Crusher of Doctor Who.
Exactly. He was Wesley Crusher before there was Wesley Crusher.
I'm not sure there's a nerdier statement has ever been uttered, by the way.
Yes, exactly.
Because you have to know both Doctor Who and the Star Trek to get that. So that's a very geeky thing.
You have to know Star Trek, but it then illuminates Doctor Who.
That's true.
Of course, I think Wesley Crusher is something. Well, I know for a fact it's considered a TV trope now, so it's known outside of He's known outside of Star Trek. So that's
true.
That's part of it too. But actually, this is kind of a good segue because, of course, we are geeks. The three of us are geeks. We like science fiction a lot, and we like a lot of different varieties of science fiction. Kind of our figurehead podcast for a while was Secrets of Doctor Who. Jimmy, why don't you, for those who maybe didn't listen to it, why don't you kind of describe what Secrets of Doctor Who is about?
Yeah, well, it still is kind of our flagship in terms of it's our longest running, currently produced podcast. We do it every week. And when Doctor Who is on the air, in the sense of when there's a new season airing, like there will be later this fall. Yeah. We review the episodes, basically in lagged real time. So within a few days of the new episode, we'll have a review of it and we'll talk about it and where we think it's all going and stuff like that. But what we're doing right now is we're doing a kind of staggered rewatch of older Doctor Who. We split it between the classic series that ran from 1963 to 1989, and then the revived New Who series that began in 2005. And so we'll do an episode of Secrets that focuses on a New Who episode, and we're just watching our way through the New Who material. We're currently in David Tennant's time, the very popular 10th Doctor's time. And then the next episode, we'll typically go and watch an episode of Classic Who, and we'll jump through the different Doctors of the Classic Who era. There were 8 of them, counting Paul McGann. And that way, people, even if you've never experienced Classic Who, it serves as kind of a window for people to get a sense of what Classic Who was like, and to get some commentary on famous episodes from back then, and to get a sense of, is that something that they would be interested in watching? Because it's all out there, on video these days. If you have Amazon Prime or BritBox or, things like that, you can watch a lot of this on streaming. And then in addition to the rewatch episodes from Classic Who and New Who, we'll occasionally throw in other episodes. We recently taped, they're not out yet, but we recently recorded a couple, so you can tell how old I am. I just said tape.
I think we understand that too.
What's tape?
Yeah. We recorded a couple of episodes on like our advice for the new incoming showrunner, Chris Chibnall, and what we hope he's going to do. We did a retrospective on Peter Capaldi's time as the 12th Doctor. And we occasionally veer off into other things, like we have done some, we occasionally talk about the audio plays starring former Doctor Who actors that are produced by Big Finish. For example, we did a review once of the original sort of genesis of the Cybermen story with the fifth Doctor, Peter Davison. That's called Spare Parts, and it's one of the most popular Big Finish audio plays of all time. And so we reviewed that in the run-up to the newer Cyberman stuff. And it's a lot of fun on the podcast. We get to talk about a lot of different things.
I've had people listen who aren't Doctor Who fans. And in fact, someone I know here personally, that she does not like Doctor Who, but she enjoyed listening to a couple episodes of our podcast. It's a lot of fun.
Cool.
And kind of for those who don't know, when Jimmy was talking about Classic Who versus New Who, Doctor Who has run for over 50 years, but there was a break for about 89 to 05, however long that is.
17 years.
17 years. So Classic Who is from 1963 to 89, and then New Who is everything that's been produced since 2005.
Right.
So it's been a great experience. We also have our Secrets of series, movies, TV shows, and whatever else we end up throwing in there, it seems like.
Yep. That's been a lot of fun. So it started, we started that a couple years ago, but we really started really going gangbusters earlier this year with it. And we've had some great discussions in that series. Most recently, this past week, we released Secrets of Coco. That's the Disney animated movie about the Mexican traditions surrounding the Day of the Dead, the Dia de los Muertos. And wow, what a great discussion that was. I had such a blast. We had Angela Silana, who is Mexican-American, and Deborah Shaban, who used to work at Disney. And it was such a great discussion because Angela could bring to bear all of her understanding of the Mexican traditions, and Deborah could bring to bear all of her understanding of the way Disney and Pixar make movies. And it was such a good time. And that's one of the things I love about that podcast is it's a variety of voices. So it was Angela and Deborah this time. Recently we did Secrets of Netflix's Lost in Space, where I was joined by Lisa Hendy of CatholicMom.com. She's also an author.
And she actually was lost in space at one time. So, she was able to bring her personal life experience to this.
Right.
There was this shuttle accident so, yeah.
Sure. And the other person joining us was Cy Kellett from Catholic Answers radio program.
He's still lost in space.
I'll let him know that you said that. And then it's not just new stuff. We also have done Secrets of Raiders of the Lost Ark, which, again, one of my favorite movies of all time. What a blast. We're looking to do others in that series. By the way, we're planning in Secrets of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. But I have vowed that we're not going to do Crystal Skull.
Thank you.
You need to be a completist.
If you listen to our Raiders of the Lost Ark episode, you'll hear that I have never seen it, and I really have no intention to see it.
Raiders of the Lost Ark or Crystal Skull?
Crystal Skull.
No. He has no intention of seeing Crystal Skull. Although I have to say,
Crystal Skull.
If we get enough people, I might set a goal. Like if we get so many new patrons, donors at some point, that maybe we will record an episode. We'll make that a goal, and then you can listen to us rant and rave about what a horrible movie it was. But yeah, it's such a great podcast. A lot of fun. And because we do movies and TV, it can range all over the place.
Dom, how often does that one come out?
Well, it's somewhat inconsistent at the moment, which I would like to get more consistent. But right now, it's about every 2 weeks. In the summer, it's a little more difficult, only because it's harder to get panels together. Even though all the movies are coming out, but there's less TV in the summer as well. So I'm hoping as we get into the fall, it will get more consistent.
By the way, speaking of TV, one that we did a two-parter on with Secrets of Movies and TV was The Good Place.
Which was
And that one is one that our audience of people who are primarily Catholic audience, but anyone religious or frankly anybody at all, if you're interested in a really thought-provoking sitcom, The Good Place is amazingly well written. Now, it's got some stuff in it that's not all family friendly, like virtually every sitcom today. But it's way better than most, and it's really well written.
It's a sitcom about philosophy. I mean, come on.
Yeah, about moral philosophy.
Exactly. So I recommend go watch the first season, listen to our first season episode.
Podcast.
Yeah, Secrets of The Good Place season 1. Then go watch season 2 and then listen to the second podcast. And you trust me, you won't regret it.
And do not let anybody spoil you about what happens in the series.
Yes, there are twists and turns, and you don't want to get those spoiled. So that's Secrets of Movies and TV. And one thing I want to mention about that, because Jimmy, I'm glad you brought up like how often does it come out. One of my goals in my leadership of SQPN is to really emphasize 2 factors in our podcasts: consistency and quality.
Yep.
I know that people, like, because I did this, people listen to podcasts sometimes as part of their commute, as part of their routine.
Right.
And when a new episode doesn't show up in the feed, sometimes it disrupts your routine. It's you miss it. And so I really want to make sure that as much as possible, given given people's schedules and things like that, but as much as possible that we're consistent in our output, and that also secondarily that we consistently offer quality. I want to have, like, the discussions are always good, but there's also the quality of the recording and the technical stuff as well. So those are my goals, and those are things we're working toward. But those are 2 of my goals.
And that's like with this podcast, try to get it out every week as best we can. And other Secrets Doc 2, of course, we've been very good about that. We've actually recorded ahead a little bit so that there are shows that are in the can, ready to go, just waiting for the time to release them. And that is an important thing. Another thing you mentioned, the quality too, is one thing we've been trying to do is that to edit the episodes so that there's a more consistent sound quality to them.
Right.
Because there's nothing more frustrating than you're driving down the road and you've got a podcast where you have to crank the radio up to hear it, one person, then you got to crank it down real quick and the other person talks, things like that.
I am amazed, frankly, listening to podcasts of professional radio shows that have millions of listeners, and it's like, come on, who's the guy at the soundboard?
Right.
Why is the host so much louder than the guest on the telephone?
Right.
Exactly.
They're not taking the time to, and one of the things that's tricky with this podcasting and radio is you can't always control what's at the other end, what environment people are listening in, what they're listening to it on. Like, I just had someone yesterday say, the audio on this, the levels on this episode are really low. And I'm like, I'm sorry, let me go check. And I went back, I looked, I'm like, I tested, I asked other people to listen. I don't know what's going on with whatever device you're listening to and where you're listening on, but I can't. There's nothing for me to fix. It is what it's where it's at.
We've taken care of things on our end. If there's an issue,
right.
it's something that's out of our hands. But we're really trying to make sure that the sound quality is good for everybody, based on what we're able to do.
Exactly.
Right. And I'd be happy to talk to anyone and see if I can give some advice on how they can improve their listening experience on their device if I can. I mean, that's if they want it. If he comes back and says, "Well, this is what I'm doing," and I could try to help them troubleshoot that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we've talked about Secrets of Doctor Who, and we talked about Secrets of Movies,
and we're going to
TV.
take a quick break here, and then we'll talk about some new podcasts we got have been coming out and things that are coming up in the future here. So take a quick break here, and thank you again for listening to Let's Talk and all the other SQPN podcasts. We do have a lot of shows that we're coming out with, shows that have come out since the beginning of the year, shows that have come out are coming out in the future, and we want to encourage you to keep an eye on SQPN.com and on our SQPN Facebook page for more information about those. We also want to encourage you to support us, of course, to bring you these shows, to pay Dom's salary and keep his kids fed and under a roof. I think he'd appreciate that.
I do.
He's
appreciate
laughing,
that.
but it's not a joke.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We all know the need for donations, and we want to encourage you to visit us at SQPN.com and check out our options where you can donate to us to contribute to keeping the lights on, figuratively and literally in Dom's case. Right now you can contribute through PayPal, but we are looking very strongly, and hopefully we'll be rolling out in the near future Patreon, where you can do a regular contribution there, contribute to supporting our shows, supporting the shows you like, and even get a little bit of benefit from the shows you like. So please do check those out. Again, at SQPN.com. You can also sign up for the smile.amazon.com, another good option there to contribute to us if you're not already doing that for another organization. So please do take a look at all those options, and we'll definitely make sure to get more information out as those roll out. So thank you for allowing me to take that quick break there, Jimmy, to do that. And so what were you going to say? I kind of interrupted you there.
Well, I was going to say, what other podcasts do we have in production right now? Because there are several, and we're leading up to kind of a meta moment too. But
exactly.
But Dom, what else do we have?
So on a daily basis, we have a new show that I started in I think late March. It's the Starquest Daily Headlines, or the Starquest Headlines, and the idea behind that is in 2 minutes or so, sometimes it's 2.5 minutes, but always under 3 minutes, I'll give you 3 or 4 headlines that I'm finding that are of interest to our audience. And it's often something to do with maybe something with science, something to do with maybe a Catholic topic, very often something to do with movies or TV or some sort of science fiction-y thing, fantasy novels, that sort of stuff. Something in those realms, 4 a day, in under a couple of minutes, just to kind of be a little bit of entertainment, a little bit of interest. And it's a lot of fun. One of the things I love about it is that we've set it up so that if you own an Amazon Echo device, I'm giving the side eye to the Amazon Echo device right next to me to make sure I'm not accidentally activating it. The Amazon, if you own an Amazon Echo device, you can actually add Starquest headlines to your flash briefing. A feature of that is you can say to the device in the morning, "Yo, lady in a can, what's my flash briefing?" or "What's today's news?" and it will read off, among other things that you choose, but among them is our little 2-minute podcast. And that's a lot of fun to get that out there every day.
And I've done that. So I'll talk to my device and say, and this is not her real name, but I'll say, "Janet, start my day," and it'll tell me the weather. It'll give me the flash briefing from Dom. It'll run through a few other things like that.
Yeah, it's a great little quickie show. You don't have to. It doesn't take much to listen to it. Yes,
it's you get it over with in a couple minutes a day. And then another new show we started is The Pilgrim Life, and that features Deborah Shaban, who I mentioned before, and her friend Sandra Garezar. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm not very good at pronouncing names, ironically, given my name. But I'm also very sensitive to pronouncing people's names given my name. But Deborah and Sandra have they're veteran pilgrims. They've gone on a lot of pilgrimages, including a number of times each on the mother of pilgrimages, in a sense, the Camino de Santiago de Compostela in Spain. Yeah, and which, if for listeners who've been with us for a while, you remember last year when Father Roderick walked for over the course of 6 weeks from the Pyrenees mountains on the French border to Santiago, which is on the coast. And that's a common pilgrimage, but it's not just about the Camino. They'll also talk about other pilgrimages that they've been on in Canada and Mexico, in the United States and other places, but also more of a virtual pilgrimages too, in a sense of that no matter what our state in life, we can all be on pilgrimage. We're all on a journey in life, a journey to a sacred place at the end, and so their discussion is somewhat a bit about travel, but it's also a bit about what we're about, where we're going in life, and what our attitude is, and how our attitude on a physical pilgrimage can really affect our attitude in our daily journeys. So they're up to three episodes so far, and it's going very well. It's very enjoyable. Do give it a listen because they're a lot of fun.
Of course, this podcast is another one that has been restarted since the beginning of the year
under a new name.
Well,
yes and no.
It's a similar name.
So, kind of history background. There was Catholic Weekend for quite a few years, and it was a very enjoyable show. I was on it for a while, along with some of the other people that are involved with SQPN, and it got phased into Let's Talk, where it was a little bit more formal.
Yep.
And, one topic and kind of a formal discussion. It faded away. It just, again, scheduling and things like that, it kind of faded away. Well, we've restarted it. And I'm trying to strike the balance between a little bit more formal, where we do have the segments, but still a little more informal discussion. We don't want it to be stuffy,
Right.
So
that was the thing with when we transitioned from Catholic Weekend to Let's Talk. The idea was to be a more formal discussion with formal guests each week, where we get an expert on a topic. Well, that proved to be, especially again since we didn't have a full-time producer, that proved to be a lot of work, more than and became difficult to every week have a different expert guest. So this one, where we just kind of call on the people in our community and we get together and have a little less formal discussion.
And, of course, as our first rebooted episode will show, we will have guests once in a while.
Yes.
We will have people come on and talk about an issue as a guest. But it's not the driving force. The driving force of this podcast is to be, as I said at the beginning, a community show for the SQPN community, a chance for us to talk about issues that we think are of interest. What else do we got going on there, Dom?
So we also have, let me look at my list here. Well, there's another show coming very soon. I want to save the one that just launched for the last, but there's another show that the three of us are doing coming up starting the beginning of September, which is a bit of a revival.
2 weeks away now.
Yeah, and it's another sort of revival of a show that SQPN used to do, Secrets of Star Trek. And there's a good reason for that, which is that more than ever, Star Trek is back in a sense. I mean, we've got a new series, we've got movies, there's multiple series coming out. There's a lot going on in Star Trek, and a lot like Doctor Who, there's a lot of Star Trek that has been created that we can talk about on a regular basis. So Father Cory, Jimmy, and I are, just like we do with Doctor Who, we're going to get together and talk about Star Trek shows, but we'll also talk about other things. Like we do plan to talk about Galaxy Quest, which is a Star Trek sort of parody.
That'll be a fun one.
I'm sure we'll mention that Wesley Crusher is the Adric of Star Trek.
Yes, we will have that rant episode as well, I'm sure.
Yes. But then when Star Trek Discovery is airing its season, we'll do each week we'll do a discussion of one of the episodes, and then when other shows come up, we'll figure out a way to incorporate those as well. Yep. So a lot of fun. Secrets of Star Trek originally started on SQPN back in 2010, and with Father Ryrick, Mike Kuipers, Maria Johnson, Steve Nelson. And then it kind of faded away after about, I think, 10 episodes. Then came back for 2 episodes in 2012 and then faded away again. Yeah. It's hard to maintain. And I think what we've found is the formula for keeping these going by doing these discussions of particular episodes and things.
Right. We've hammered out a methodology that with Secrets of Doctor Who, the three of us have gotten on a consistent schedule. We've consistently produced it for years now.
Yeah.
And we're going to be applying the same methodology to Star Trek. So we don't have any doubt that we're going to be able to consistently keep it up. We've got that methodology hammered down.
You know, one obvious concern is pod fading. It's a reality in podcast where the podcast just fades away. You know, we missed a week, and then we missed a couple of weeks, and then we miss a month. The next thing you know, the podcast hasn't been produced in a while. And that's something obviously we're trying to be very conscious of saying, no, we're gonna set consistent schedules and as best we can. And if we miss a week or two, then we get back on our horse, so to speak.
And that's precisely why we're recording in advance, so that even if the three of us, have scheduling issues, we've got a buffer so that we don't disappoint the regular listener. Like
last week, we did not record last Monday, which is our usual recording day, and I'll explain why as my pick of the week. Well,
you didn't record last Monday, but Dom and I did.
Yes, you did. A different show. Well, what would that show be?
Well, Jimmy, I'll let you introduce this one.
Okay. So we just launched a new podcast. The grand opening was yesterday, and it's called Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World. And I'm a little... I don't know. My modesty kind of clashes with that title a little bit, but
I insisted on it.
Yeah, and I can see the wisdom in the branding. So basically, it's a show that is designed to look at mysteries in the world, both natural mysteries and supernatural mysteries. If you think about the old Unsolved Mystery Show or In Search Of or similar programs to that, it looks at real life mysteries, not just things in fiction, but we're taking one topic per week. It's going to be a weekly podcast. We've already got all of August in the bank, and each episode, Dom and I talk about one mystery. And the nature of the mystery changes every week, but then we talk about the claims that are made regarding the mystery, the counterclaims that are also made, and then we look at what a faith perspective would say about this mystery, and also what the perspective of reason would say about this mystery. So our first episode, which is already up, is on ghosts. And one of the things that Dom points out in our first episode is this is kind of different than other podcasts you'll hear that are devoted to subjects like this, because most of them come from one of two perspectives. Most of them are either enthusiast podcasts where they're really into all of this and they want to believe it no matter how weird the claim is, or they're skeptic podcasts where they want to debunk it no matter what evidence could be brought forward in favor of it. And neither one of those are our agendas. The approach that we're taking is we want to be open-minded, but we also want to use critical thinking. And so we're kind of have a foot in both camps, and thus won't please the hardcore people on either side. But I think most people will be interested in the approach we're taking because there is a lot of mystery in the world. I mean, God is infinite, and so his mystery is infinite. And as the creator of the world, he's built a lot of mystery into his creation. The mystery of the creator is reflected in his work, and we don't do God and his creative work justice if we pretend, we've got this all figured out, we know everything, there's no mystery left. And so I've been fascinated with the mysterious since I was a kid, and I do a lot of reading on different types of mysteries, both everything from the paranormal to scientific mysteries to historical mysteries, true crime, ancient civilizations, all kinds of different things. And we're going to be talking about all of those on the show. And in our pre-planning, we've already got enough topics for like 2 or 3 years. So
yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so we have a nice schedule mapped out later this month. Like I said, you can go listen right after this podcast. You can go listen to our episode on ghosts, and this I picked that one to start with because it's kind of a both and. There is a reality to the mystery of ghosts, but we also need to be critical in how we evaluate reports of ghostly activity. So there's, I think you'll find our discussion of that very interesting. Coming up next week, we're going to be talking about transhumanism, which is a movement to try to replace the human race with sort of the Borg, kind of. Then you have, or if you prefer, the Borg or the Cybermen of Star Trek. Then we're going to be talking about Bigfoot, everybody's big favorite cuddly cryptid. And then we're going to be talking about Area 51 and what goes on there and what we really do know about what goes on at Area 51. So lots of interesting stuff coming up just this month.
The truth is out there. Oh, wait, that's a different show.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's true. The truth is out there.
So... Well, go ahead.
Actually, I just want to point out for all of these shows, if you want to find these shows on our website and find out how to subscribe, go to sqpn.com/shows. And then you'll see all of our current lineup of shows all listed there. And it definitely, please go and check them out. Especially if you've listened to one and you haven't listened to the others, give them a try. You might find something new that you're going to love.
So excellent. Yeah, we got a lot of good stuff going on, and I know this isn't the start. Obviously, without spoiling anything, but what's kind of the vision, Dom, for the future?
Well, that's a good place to go because we're not done. I mean, there isn't necessarily a hard limit on how many shows we can have. I mean, we know there's a limited number of hours that people can listen to any one show, but we also want to offer shows to as wide a variety of people as we can, and really, because our mission is to everyone. So we have some plans in the future. Some I can talk about, some that I can't yet talk about not because we're trying to be secret, but because they're just nebulous and we don't have anything solid
locked down yet.
Yeah, but one of the things I really want to do is last year I was doing a podcast with my good friend Father Chip Hines. We were doing a weekly podcast together. Which was fun, just the two of us, and we're two local Boston guys. I used to work for Father Chip, and then we were on a radio show co-hosting together, so we know each other pretty well, and we have a lot of fun. We had to put that on hiatus while Father Chip dealt with some health issues, but he's getting healthier, and he's going to come back, and so we're looking to maybe restart that as well. And I've got some ideas for we're can you believe we're 10 years almost 10 years post Lost, the TV show Lost. Wow. We're getting there, and I'm thinking there were a lot of Lost podcasts because Lost came around at the same time as podcasting originally, and so there were a lot of Lost but I'm thinking of doing a Lost Again, where my wife Melanie and I early in our marriage, it was something we did together, and watch Lost together. And so maybe come back and rewatch Lost together and talk about it. That I have to convince her to do a podcast, so that may or may not happen. But we're looking to kind of expand, and we're always welcoming people who are interested in doing a podcast with us. That's for certain. If someone is interested in, they think they have an idea for a podcast they want to do. You're welcome to send me an email. My email is dominic@sqpn.com, dominic@sqpn.com, or go to the website and click on the contact us link, because my name is spelled weirdly, and so that's easier to remember. But we're looking at so if you have an idea, you have something you want to do, contact me. We have a process, we'll of proposals and whatnot, where I can send something out to you. We can talk about why someone would want to do a podcast with SQPN and what we offer, and whether what you want to do fits in the mission and all that sort of stuff. But we're really looking to grow big and to offer a lot to a lot of people. But the key is the audience. We can make 100 podcasts, but if people don't listen and they don't share the news about these podcasts with others, our reach is limited. And that's a key one.
And sharing is more important than ever because the major platforms like Facebook and YouTube and Twitter have been adjusting their algorithms that make it harder to get your message out there. And so we're more dependent than ever on your sharing our podcasts with people who you think may enjoy them. So by all means, whatever platforms you're on, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, please like, comment, subscribe, and especially share with other people that you know online.
And of course, iTunes as well. Definitely the comments and the stars are very important there. And of course, feedback too. We enjoy feedback very much. Here at here at Let's Talk, we have our Let's Talk at SQPN.com, which finally got figured out after last week's episode.
Yes, we finally got that.
We got that figured out. But we've got that, for Secrets Doctor Who. We got our Doctor Who at SQPN and so on. So please do give us feedback. We want this to be a community. It's not just us sitting here in front of microphones talking over Skype. We want this to be a community.
Shh, don't give away the secrets.
Yeah. You mean we're not actually sitting in the same room? Yes. Jimmy's on one end of the country.
We use microphones.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
So, but there's a lot going on, and we definitely got more happening. So keep an eye on our website.
Yeah, and just to kind of throw something out there as a maybe for this audience, sharing something with you that we haven't shared with others is that we're going to be looking at one of the big things that we had before that helped our community grow was, as I mentioned before, the Catholic New Media Celebration, the CNMC, and those were a lot of work to organize. And so they've been hard to kind of get one going in the last few years. But we've heard from folks how much they miss it and the opportunity to do it. So we're currently looking at the idea of organizing one maybe next spring, maybe on the West Coast, because we've never done a CNMC west of, I think Kansas City is the furthest west we ever got. So getting to the folks out that way. So stay tuned for that. Stay listening to this. Subscribe to our email newsletter is a great way of staying in touch on our website. Subscribe. So we've got some ideas and plans in that direction. One of the ways you can help is we're going to be launching a listener survey in this coming week. And in fact, it may be live as you listen to this. If you can go to sqpn.com/survey, really hope that is available on our website. Let me go double check that because it would be awkward if I throw that out there. But because I'm doing this off the top of my head, which is never a good idea. Okay, so that is available. So if you go to sqpn.com/survey and take our listener survey, it helps us with our planning, with understanding what you want to hear and what sorts of things we can do in the future. And so it would help us a lot. So we really appreciate that if you could take the survey, and maybe if you know other people who might be interested in podcasts to kind of recommend it to others as well.
Excellent. Well, that's a good place to move on to the pick of the week. Like I said, we got a lot of stuff going on here, but we got some picks too that we want to share. So, Dom, why don't you start with that?
Okay, I'm going to go something a little interesting and offbeat for my pick of the week. I love cooking. I love the cuisines of the world, and I got introduced to this particular ingredient by some friends here in my hometown. So my boys are in Cub Scouts, and one of the moms at Cub Scouts she's a native of Japan. She's Japanese.
Ooh, is it ponzu?
No, which is very good. Ponzu is very good. This is something I'd never heard of before. And she made this dish for this. We did this cooking thing, and she made this dish, and she had this garnish, which is crispy garlic in a chili oil. Okay, and it sounds like that sounds weird, right? I am addicted to this stuff. I put it on my eggs. I put it in my soup. I mean, it is so good. I mean, I'm Italian, so I love garlic.
Yes.
And oil, and chili oil is great. It's not super spicy, but it's a nice tang. It's really good. And I managed to find it on Amazon at a decent price. The first one got shipped from Japan, and it took a month. But then I found that there was someone selling it in the U.S., so you can get it regular Prime or whatever. So I'll put a link when we post this on our website. I'll put a link in the show notes for it. But so my pick is Japanese crispy garlic in chili oil.
Oh, now I'm hungry. That sounds good. Do you have a pick there, Jimmy?
Yeah, I'm going to be self-promotional this week and just give people a reminder to go check out our newest podcast, Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World, and the Ghost episode is up and available for you to listen to right now. So you can go to SQPN.com. You can also find it at JimmyAkin.com. You can find it on the SQPN Facebook page. It's also on YouTube. So really, at this point, if you just Google Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World, it will come right up and you'll be able to listen to it and hear Dom and Maya's fascinating conversation about ghosts.
Excellent. Excellent. For my pick of the week, I'm actually going to go something a little bit more spiritual, but not completely. This past, as I mentioned,
I was talking about spirits, so
yes,
not much more spiritual.
Well,
than that.
the spirits I'm talking about might not be quite the same. No, I'm kidding.
Okay,
a little both types of spirits, shall we say? This past, as I mentioned when we were talking about Secrets of Doctor Who, that we weren't able to record for that because I was out of town. I was actually at a gathering of priests, a fraternal gathering of priests. And kind of my pick is the need for retreat and for spending time with other Catholics, other Christians in a more spiritual sense. It's one thing to get together with friends and hang out, but it's another thing to actually have more of a retreat type environment. And ours wasn't a strict retreat. We did have time for prayer. We did have big mass every night. In fact, that's one of the big things we did. Every night we did a solemn, high, extraordinary form mass because we had so many priests. At one point, we had 15 priests from throughout the country here in Montana, in Laurel, Montana, down by Billings. Wow. It was phenomenal. And of course, like I said, it wasn't a strict silent retreat, so we had time for social and for the other spirits. There were beverages available that were enjoyed around a fire pit, but it was a very restful time because we could just spend time together and enjoy being in each other's presence and enjoy the time of prayer and the time of a little bit of quiet. It was kind of nice because I could kind of set the phone away and I wasn't available. People would text me and a couple hours later, I'd go look at my phone, I'd respond, I'd put it down and walk away again. It was a very wonderful experience. And it's something that we don't do well in our culture today is take that time to just kind of walk away from things and just relax and just rest, And so I would encourage people listening to try to schedule time, even if it's just a couple of days, 2-3 days, to get together with others and do a retreat. Go find a retreat house somewhere where you could go away for a weekend, go away for a couple of days during the week, especially take actual time off from work and go and do that. And I know that's hard for families and, for those who have kids and those who have job responsibilities and everything. But it is so important for our spiritual life to have that time away. So my pick of the week is a time of retreat from the world and the daily grind that we have, because we need it.
That's very true. I agree. You're here.
Cheers.
Well, one of the things we're planning with, or the ideas we're kicking around for the CNMC is alternating years where one year we'd have a more social event, but another year would be an SQPN retreat for people to get together and do just that sort of thing. Yeah, we would
find a retreat house somewhere and have some time for prayer, have mass, and have time for social too. I mean,
exactly.
It's such an important part as well as get with people that you enjoy hanging out with and visit.
Yes,
so. Excellent.
Well,
excellent. Great picks. And, of course, check out the podcast we've got going on. And as we wrap up, Jimmy, why don't you tell where people can find you?
Well, they can find me on Facebook and Twitter. Just Google my name or search on my name, Jimmy, Jimmy. Akin. My last name has only 4 letters in it. Resist the temptation to add more. It's just Akin.
Yep.
You can also go to jimmyakin.com, which is a hub for all of my online activities.
Yeah, you can also find lots of books, find you on Catholic Answers Live, lots of places. So
yeah,
Jimmy's all over the internet. And how about you, Dom? Where can people find you?
So when you're not looking for me at SQPN.com, you can find my my own personal website at Betnet, BETTNET.com, and then I link from there to my social media and other places as well. So if you want to kind of follow me there.
And again, I'm Father Cory Sticha. You can find me at my website, frcory. That's FRCORY. Like Jimmy, don't add any letters to my first name. There is no E in my name anywhere. But it's frcory.org. Find me on Facebook as well. Father Cory Sticha is my Facebook page. That's last name spelled Sticha. So once again, thank you for listening to Let's Talk. Again, send us feedback at letstalk at SQPN.com. I'm going to get that spit out correctly once, sometime.
Exactly.
And join us again next week, and God bless.